Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Music and Moonsaults right here on the Music and Moonsault channel. This is the flagship show. If you envision a Venn diagram and you've got the two circles, and one circle is wrestling and the other circle is music, the little space in between where they overlap, that's what this show is. So, before we get started, I want to encourage you to please uh, leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That would be very helpful. Um, if you could also leave a comment if you feel so inclined, and let me know how you think I'm doing. I'm slowly getting more comfortable with doing this solo show. Um, I'm a little bit more comfortable when I have guests on for the other two shows, but this show, for the most part, is probably just going to be me solo, and so it's a work in progress because normally when I'm talking to myself, no one's listening. So, um, today we are going to be talking about the Undertaker, the music of the Undertaker. It's unless you're living under a rock, if you're a wrestling fan, you know that this month on November 22nd, it is the 30-year anniversary of the debut of The Undertaker. And in those 30 years, The Undertaker has had quite a few different theme songs and also even more variations of those theme songs. Um, each theme song has like an evolution process, much like the Undertaker character has an evolution process over the course of 30 years. So we're gonna take that journey today. I'll kind of walk you through it. A lot of research went into this. There was a specific Reddit thread that I found that was very helpful in the information. Some of the information wasn't quite accurate, I found, but it was a nice little base starting point for me. I'm also, like I did with the DX video, I will leave all the links to. I won't do every single variation because that would be like 30 videos, literally. But I'll leave a link to give you a sample of each of the theme songs we're going to talk about today. So, as I mentioned, The Undertaker debuted on November 22nd, 1990, at the Survivor Series. He was the mystery partner for Ted DiBiase's Survivor Series team, along with Rhythm and Blues, which was Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine. And they were facing Dusty Rhodes, Coco Beware, and the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Knight. And so Ted DiBiase introduces him from Death Valley, The Undertaker. So he comes walking out. He's managed by Brother Love at this point. His first theme song is called the general, what we're going to call it, is Graveyard Symphony. This first version he comes out to is actually called Funeral March because it was based on the Funeral March, which was composed by Frederick Chopin. I believe I'm saying that right. So it's very it's very well known. I remember hearing it in like a Looney Tunes cartoon as a kid. Whenever, oh no, Daffy Duck died. And they play the dun 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 dun. That's that song. That's what they Jim Johnston based the Undertaker theme song on. So this first version, the Funeral March version, is it's the foundation. It's to this day the song he uses up until the Boneyard match earlier this year. Whenever he's the DEADMAN character, for the most part, this is the theme that's based on, everything is based on this theme. So the first version, that actually, it's kind of like a demo. It was never used as an actual theme song. I think they used it maybe in an Undertaker documentary at some point or a video package. Uh, but it's done all on piano. It's very pretty actually. It's a beautiful piece of music, I think. But at Survivor Series, the theme comes out to, there's not the iconic bell, pulling of the bell that we all know and love from the Undertaker. It's the music just starts and it sounds like an old church organ. And it's a rough sketch of what the song would eventually become. It's very basic and simple. It's not as intricate as the song would eventually become. And this is the song he uses, version of the song he uses for the most, probably his first year at least, up until maybe when he turns babyface towards the end of 1991. So then, as we move along, there's some subtle changes. um they add the tone of the bell, and the sound of the organ changes, and it sounds almost like a horn section more than a church organ. And this is when the melody, especially, after the piece that's based on the Chopin piece, um the part in the middle there, that part definitely gets a little more fleshed out a little more. Whereas on the original version, it's, like I said, it's very basic and very like rough sketch type. Just chord changes basically with a few other accent notes thrown in. Well, this is more accent, single notes um going through. It's more of a defined part of the song. Um and as we go along here, they add the thunder sound effects, um and also like a choir at the beginning, um that you can hear. And as we go along, not only is his music changing, but his look is changing ever so slightly as we move along. So when he debuts, his hair is um, kind of kind of looks like a red mullet. It's his natural. I think he's a natural redhead, and it's kind of like a mullet, big bushy mullet almost. Um, and of course he's wearing all black. He's got the trench coat with the little tie that's like gray and black striped. He's got the hat with a gray band around it, and his boot covers are gray, and his leather gloves are gray that go up to here. As we move along, um, you know, he changed his managers. Brother Love no longer is his manager. We bring in Paul Bearer, and we get that iconic pairing moving forward. Um, Undertaker grows his hair out more, and it's straighter and darker. He start adding to his tattoos. When he debuts, you can kind of see some tattoos peeking over his gloves on his arms, but it's not the full sleeves that we've come to know him having today, where he's just tatted up all over. Um, he wears the glove or the gray all the way till, I believe it's the '94 Royal Rumble, when he loses the casket match to Yokozuna. And we don't see him again until SummerSlam '94, when we get the Undertaker versus Underfaker match at SummerSlam. And I believe that's when he debuts the purple. So it's the same basic straight black outfit, but instead of gray gloves and boot covers and, band on his hat, and it's all purple. And he uses this up until, pretty much this same look all the way through SummerSlam of '96. Uh, Check that. No, sorry. In Your House Buried Alive in October of '96. SummerSlam of '96 is when Paul Bearer turns on the Undertaker and joins forces with Mankind. Their feud continues. In Your House Buried Alive, like I said, October '96. Undertaker and Mankind in a Buried Alive match. And much like the Yokozuna casket match at the Royal Rumble in '94, all the heels come out and assist Mankind in burying Undertaker alive. And after they finish loading all the dirt on him, his one glove pops up out of the ground, and it's like, oh, is he really gone? Of course he's not really gone. He's the Undertaker. So then in November at the Survivor Series '96, we get yet another look for the Undertaker. He's all in black now. And at the Survivor Series, he's wrestling Mankind again, with Paul Bearer in a shark cage to keep him from interfering. And Undertaker actually comes to the ring. He comes out of the rafters, kind of very Gene Simmons like. And he's got even got like big bat wings and stuff like that. And like I said, he's all in black now. Straight black. He's even now, instead of like full leather gloves, he's got like fingerless gloves that only go to here. He hasn't quite shifted over to the MMA gloves that he wears, he would wear later in his career. And so we get this look of the Undertaker. It still has pieces of the original Undertaker. He doesn't come out in a full trench coat or a hat now. Now it's more like this sleeveless robe that he comes to the ring with. And his hair gets longer, and just a more just another evolution in the look of the character. As we go into '97, he's he wins his second world title at WrestleMania, and he loses it at SummerSlam against Bret Hart. He has the first ever Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels. That's where his brother Kane debuts. And as we roll into '98, he has his feud with Kane at WrestleMania, and then the Inferno match. And then he starts kind of a feud / partnership with Steve Austin. He wants to be WWF champion, but Steve Austin is the WWF champion. But he's also helping Steve fight off Mankind and Kane. So at Fully Loaded of 1998, we get a brand new theme. It's a complete, not a complete departure, but it's a different song. It's a little bit of a darker feel. It still has the familiar bell toll at the beginning, and a little bit of some choir, but this is a more guitar driven song. If I could play guitar well, I would play a little bit for you, but this is beyond my scope of guitar playing. But it's a nice little guitar groove with some orchestra mixed in. And like I said, so this version of the theme debuted at Fully Loaded, and it gets subtly tweaked over the next few months. There's a tweak at SummerSlam '98, where he finally gets his match against Austin for the title. And by the end of '98, Undertaker's fully turned heel. And he's a much darker character. And he's not only is he darker, like instead of a full goatee, he's just got like the chin beard going. He starts like wearing his hair like a top knot in his hair. This is when he's like, hanging people on his Undertaker symbol. He starts wearing like different the top of his outfit, it's got his Taker symbol, but like in the spaces of the Taker symbol, they're like cut out so like you can see his chest. It's kind of weird. But he ends up forming the Ministry of Darkness. And so finally we get to another version of this song, which is called Dark Side. I should mention that. This theme is called Dark Side. And forms the Ministry of Darkness. And by the time we get to WrestleMania 15, this theme is fully fleshed out. And it even like gets drop tuned a little bit. Where the earlier versions are not as they're a little more of an upbeat tempo and a little higher. Now we've lowered the tone, and it's so it sounds heavier and it's slower. So for WrestleMania 15, when he comes out, there's after the first bell toll, there's speaking, and it's the Undertaker's voice. And at first, he says a line in Latin, and then he says it again in English. So what he says is, accept the Lord of Darkness as your savior, and then allow the purity of evil to guide you. Eventually, after WrestleMania, they would take out the English and just leave the Latin in. And that's the theme he would use until we get to the point after WrestleMania where the Ministry of Darkness merges with the corporation to become the corporate ministry. And so we get yet another new theme song for The Undertaker. And this is basically Vince McMahon's No Chance in Hell theme. Takerfied, if you will. It's a lot more eerie, and just a darker version of the song. There's even because Shane is taken over the corporation, and so there's even him laughing and saying no chance during the song. Kind of cool. So that goes through till about I would say July of '99. The corporate ministry does, and then after they break up, he forms kind of a partnership with the Big Show, where it's kind of like Big Show's the young guy, and Undertaker's the old vet, and he's kind of bullying Big Show, almost like trying to teach him how to be a big man. They form a tag team called the Unholy Alliance, and so they get a theme song for this alliance. And this is a very, very basic theme song. It's not a lot to it. Again, just think of heavy guitars and strings. That's pretty much it. And it's not used for very long because by September, Undertaker is gone. He's hurt in real life. He's got to take some time off. And I think storyline, he either quits or Vince fires him. I can't remember which it is. And so we don't see Undertaker again for quite a while. He misses WrestleMania. And the next time we see The Undertaker is in May of 2000 at Judgment Day. And this is a completely different version of The Undertaker. We're in the main event of Judgment Day. It's The Rock versus Triple H in an Iron Man match for the WWF title. We're tied. We're in the last few minutes of the match. And here comes DX and the McMahons trying to help Triple H defeat The Rock to regain the championship. And as all these people are causing chaos, all of a sudden, the bell rings. We get some children talking, now I lay me down to sleep, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden you hear a voice say, "Are you scared?" And then the little girls go, "He's here." And then we get some like metal rock. And then finally, American Badass by The Undertaker, or by Kid Rock, starts playing. And we are introduced to the American Badass version of The Undertaker. and he rides his motorcycle down. He clears house of DX and the McMahons. He tombstones Triple H, which causes The Rock to get DQ'd and lose the WWF title. But the American Badass is here. This is a song off Kid Rock's 2000 album, The History of Rock. And it's the base of the song is Sad But True by Metallica. The music of that song, and with Kid Rock doing Kid Rock things over top of it. And so the Undertaker has this theme for most of the rest of the year, up until December of 2000. According to my research, the December 10th episode of Raw gets yet another new theme for the American Badass Undertaker. Now he's referring to himself as Deadman Inc. He's saying that the ring is his yard. And this theme he's using is Rollin' by Limp Bizkit. This is probably the song most associated with Biker Taker or American Badass Taker, whatever you want to call him. This is the song I most associate with him. So he's got the theme at WrestleMania, when WrestleMania 17 comes around. WrestleMania 17 also features Limp Bizkit's My Way as the theme for WrestleMania, but they don't perform. He doesn't get them to perform for him. Instead, Triple H has Motorhead perform for him. They don't perform the theme song for him until WrestleMania 19, when he's already moved on to a different theme. But they've got the theme for that song too. I believe it's called Crack Addict. So they're there to perform that song, and while they're there, they perform Rollin' for The Undertaker for his match against Big Show. And this is also Rollin' in 2001, when he and Kane joined forces as the Brothers of Destruction to win like the WCW tag team titles and all that kind of stuff. This is the song, they do Kane's intro and then a big pyro blast and then right into Rollin'. So in late 2001, after the Alliance has been vanquished, Vince starts his Kiss My Ass Club, where he's making people literally kiss his buttocks. And one of the people he wants to make kiss his buttocks is Jim Ross. And I believe this is actually in Oklahoma too, because, we gotta embarrass JR in front of his hometown. So he's trying to make JR kiss his ass. The Undertaker comes down, and everyone thinks he's going to save JR, when in fact he turns heel again and makes JR kiss Vince's ass. And from here on, he's like talking about how he's all about people respecting him. And he's also kind of doing like Vince's bidding, taking people out for Vince. He cuts his hair, so he's got really short hair, and he kind of lets it go back to his natural color. And so we get another new theme song. It's commonly referred to as You're Gonna Pay. There's an early version though called Deadman that's instrumental, and I've got my bass here. And just because I want to play you just kind of how it goes. So it's there's a bell, and then he says "Dead Man Walking," and it kicks in with the song. Simple enough. That's pretty much the whole song. And on the Deadman version, it's guitar solos over top of it. There's no words. Eventually, they bring in some lyrics. That's where it's turned into "You're Gonna Pay." This is the theme he uses until Survivor Series 2003, when he loses yet another Buried Alive match, this time to Vince McMahon with the help of his brother Kane. This is the end of the American Badass / Deadman Inc. / Big Evil version of The Undertaker. Because at WrestleMania 20, the Deadman is back. And we've got a new theme, but it's really an old theme. It's called Rest in Peace, but it's basically Graveyard Symphony or Funeral March or whatever you want to call it. It's just subtly different. Couple tweaks here and there, but it's essentially the same song. And this is the theme he uses pretty much for the rest of his career. There is a short period of time in the build up to WrestleMania 27 against Triple H where he's coming out to a Johnny Cash song. I believe it's called Ain't No Grave. But by the time we get to WrestleMania, I think he just uses it for like the build for the promos back and forth and whatnot. By the time we get to WrestleMania, he's coming out to Rest in Peace. So it's not really, it's kind of a blip on the radar. And then fast forward all the way to this year, the Boneyard match. We see Undertaker drive into the Boneyard on a motorcycle, and you're thinking, oh man, do we got American Badass Undertaker coming? Kind of. But he's not coming out, or don't have American Badass playing or rolling, which is a big disappointment for me. Instead, it's Now That We're Dead by Metallica, which is a good song. I like the song. It's off of their last album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. But if Undertaker's riding a motorcycle, I want rolling, darn it. But he uses this both when he's arriving and when he's leaving the Boneyard match. And this is this version of the Undertaker he refers to it as the unholy trinity of the Undertaker, which is the Deadman, the American Badass, and the man himself, Mark Calloway. So there you have it. There is the complete history of the Undertaker and his theme songs. This was a lot of fun. I didn't realize how many different variations there were. Like I knew that there was, quite a few like different songs, but like the different versions of those different songs, I didn't realize there were so many. He's gone through a lot, much like the character. His theme songs have gone through lots of tweaks over the years. So yeah, supposed to be on Survivor Series on Sunday on the 30th anniversary of his debut to give his final farewell. We'll see, because it's wrestling and no one ever really goes or retires. So we'll see if this is really it. But if it is, what an iconic character. Probably Vince McMahon's greatest creation as far as a character goes. And someone who's been a big part of the WWE for these past 30 years. So hats off to him, and we will see you later. Got a couple more videos this week. This weekend, I've got the second episode of the Rock and Roll Retrospective. I've got one of my good friends, Gerald Cologne, on. And we're talking something a little out of left field, probably for most of you. We're talking about DC Talk and their album Jesus Freak, which is 25 years old this weekend. It's an album that's very important to both of us. And then dropping on Thanksgiving as a little Thanksgiving treat for all of you. Matt Durr's coming back for the Wrestling Wayback Machine, and we're talking about Survivor Series 2005, which is the very first wrestling show he and I attended together. So, all right, that's it. Like I said at the beginning, if you leave a thumbs up and a comment and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, I would appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at IbanezChris. and interact with me on there. I'm on there quite a bit, so drop me a tweet, say hey, tell me what you think of the show, and yeah, I'll tweet back at you. So until next time, guys, see ya.